Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. It's been 65 years since we got independence. But how has it been since then? Has there been growth? Has there been decadence? Have we truly been independent? Today, I want to start a new segment on my channel that I have titled Nigeria, Let's Talk. And I believe it is time for Nigerians to start to rise up to the responsibility rather than blaming their leaders. Let's begin to analyze and evaluate the problems that exist in different sectors and day to day, and look at how we can solve it individually within our own scope. So that's why I'm doing this video. That's why I'm starting this segment on my channel. So today I want to, since this is Independence Day, I want us to go down history lane. So let's look at how we got the independence, when we got the independence, and how life has been since that time. But I want to highlight the presidents and how rulership, flowed from that time till now. So in 1960, October 1, obviously, 1960, Nigeria got her independence. However, Nigeria was still pretty much under the British Commonwealth monarchy till 1963 because we had not become a republic. So Nigeria became a republic in 1963, and then we had a ceremonial president, President Nnamdi Azikiwe. However, his position was completely ceremonial, and the prime minister was the one actually with the arm of power, Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa. But during that period, we had a lot of military, mostly military rule. Sometimes civilians would take over, but it was mostly military rule. So the military would take over by a coup. So a coup happened in 1966, January 1966. And then this was the coup that took President Nnamdi Azikiwe out of power, and it killed a number of others. So Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa was also out of power in 1966. So in 1966, General Aguirre, Major General Aguirre took over power. However, probably he forgot, if you get power through a coup, probably, most likely, you may lose that power by another coup. So another coup occurred in that same year, 1966, July 1966, another coup occurred and took him out of power. However, this coup was a very, very sharp one in the sense that a lot of Northerners felt like there was nepotism and favoritism towards the Igbo people, and it made the Northerners to kill a lot of Igbo people. And then, out of anger and out of, probably they felt prejudiced, the Igbo people wanted to stay out of Nigeria. So that was when we had the civilian war. So a year later, we had the civilian war from 1967 to 1970. Yakubu Gowon, however, took over power in 1966 after Major General Aguirre went out of power due to the military coup. Yakubu Gowon ruled from 1966 to 1975. Yeah, so it was still a military rule. However, one thing that crowned his period was that there was civilian war from 1967 to 1970. He was able to manage Nigeria throughout that period and even stop the civilian war. I'm not going to say much about what happened during the civilian war, whether I'm going to blame any tribe or support any tribe, because I think this is one of the problems. Nigeria is highly ethnical, highly diverse, and for some reason we have not found that unity, that melting point in that diversity, and sometimes clouds our judgment, even in leadership. So that affected us during that period. General Muritala Mohammed took over by another coup in 1975. He ruled for only about a year and some months because he was ousted out of power in 1976 also. So, um, but however, Muritala Mohammed had measures like anti-corruption measures. However, the problem is that when the military are trying to, whether do right or do wrong, most times it's usually extreme because they go in with force, they go in with dictatorship, which is why the military rule was never the kind of rule that was actually benefiting the civilians to a large extent. And so after Muritala Mohammed took over in uh, 1975 to 1976, General Olusegun Obasanjo ousted him out of power. Now, Obasanjo took power in 1976. However, who led the coup in 1976? I'm not aware. However, he was killed. Muritala Mohammed was assassinated during that coup in 1976. So, but General Olusegun Obasanjo came in with the mind to transform the rulership of Nigeria from military to civilian rule, which he tried to do. He didn't totally achieve it but he tried to do it by handing over to. But so he wasn't ousted out of power through a coup. He handed over to a civilian, Shehu Shagari. And Shehu Shagari ruled from 1979 to 1983, 4 years. But then he was overthrown again by a military coup. So consistently, military coups were overthrowing government in Nigeria. In 1983, our recently ex-president who died just this year, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, took over in 1983 to 1985, and you know how he always likes to, you know, uphold anti-corruption measures. So it was one of the major things that were upheld during his period. But as I like to, as from what I've observed, military rule or military personnel don't really know how to enforce justice or enforce a particular rule without making it an actual force, without making it dictatorship. Meaning they may achieve what they're trying to get, but the core they may not actually achieve it because innocent civilians may die. So what in 1985, General Muhammadu Buhari was ousted out of government again through a military coup. General Ibrahim Babangida took over government in 1985 to 1993. So he ruled for 8 years. That would be two terms. However, General Ibrahim Babangida actually ruled pretty much well to some extent. He introduced the economic reforms, and a major thing that highlighted this period was the civilian political transition plans, meaning he also wanted to transition rulership to the civilian rule. And he didn't really achieve it because there was an election in 1993, the popular election that is uh, called, amongst many Nigerians, it's called the most free and fair election. And that was the election where MKO Abiola actually won, but the election was annulled. The government annulled the election. And so people were tired at this point. So they were like, is this still an independent rule? Or, are we really still being controlled? Was it just a change of this control? There were protests. We have had the election. Someone has won, so let him take over power. So this caused a lot of trouble. General Ibrahim Babangida immediately had to hand over to an interim president, Chief Ernest Shonekan. MKO Abiola, however, was arrested in 1993. And now Chief Ernest Shonekan ruled for just months, about 2, 3 months from August to November 1993. Then General Sani Abacha took over. He ruled from 1993 to 1998, about 5 years, and his period was marked by economic repression, a lot of poverty, human rights abuse, political suppression. This was the period when a good number of a good number of individuals were arrested during this period, and it was just because once he suspects that you don't support his rule, you'll just be um, arrested. The prices of goods were expensive. There was a lot of corruption, but it wasn't even corruption amongst many individuals. It was just the leader was just suppressing the the masses, the individuals within the country. So people had had it for the first time in Nigeria. Somebody died, and people were happy. Almost everybody in the whole nation was happy. Even I can't say now that I am sad that he died, even though I'm a, Christian. But because the moment he died, then the Nigeria began to have some glimpse of hope. However, so he died in 1998, July 1998. Then General Abdul Salami Abubakar took over in 1998 and he ruled for just about a year. His major achievement was to transform or transition rulership from military to civilian, and he achieved it. This was the year that it was totally achieved, and everything that happened beyond this era was has been termed the post Abacha era. General Olusegun Obasanjo in 1999. He ruled from 1999 to 2007. He ruled two terms, 4 years for each term, and he ruled as a civilian president, which was what he always wanted. I forgot to say that MKO Abiola died in custody, even though he had already been released. He died in custody in 1998. Probably was killed. I don't have that information. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua took over in 2007, ruled from 2007 to 2010. A major achievement of Obasanjo that I forgot to mention was that there was improvement in Nigeria's global standing. I don't know, there's something about General Olusegun Obasanjo that he just knows how to communicate with the outside world. He knows how to communicate globally with other presidents, and this established Nigeria. I want to say this is one of it's this global standing that we are still enjoying in Nigeria, because when it comes to our economy, that one has been repressed. When it comes to every other sector, infrastructure, agriculture, everything has gone down, everything has decayed, but we still have that name, that identity in the global world. How come? And I think it was that period that we gained that identity. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua took over in 2007 2010, and he was pushing for anti-corruption and peace. He was a good president. However, his sickness could not help him to rule for as long as possible. He died in 2010. So Goodluck Jonathan was his vice president. His vice president took over in 2010, ruled for about a year, and then got re-elected in 2011, ruled from 2011 to 2015. That's Goodluck Jonathan. Goodluck Jonathan was a good president. However, there was a lot of corruption that happened under his rule. And what the a major destruction that he had during his rule was the Boko Haram insurgency. There was a lot of disturbance from the north due to the Boko Haram insurgency, and he tried his best to bring it down, but I just couldn't. Muhammadu Buhari took over in 2015 to 2023. I think this was the year that people were done with PDP and they just wanted another party, and they went with APC. So I believe Muhammadu Buhari was just re-elected because we don't want PDP anymore. We want APC. We can't have General Olusegun Obasanjo keep leading Nigeria. He's not the only one that can lead because if PDP keeps ruling, a lot of people must have thought that if PDP keeps ruling, General Olusegun Obasanjo would also keep ruling. So they voted for APC. Muhammadu Buhari ruled for 8 years, and his goals were, to reduce corruption, to improve security, and to improve the economy of the country. However, because he was a military personnel, I feel because he was a military personnel, he ruled with dictatorship when he was a military personnel. Even when he was ruling as a civilian, he still ruled with some form of dictatorship, and that really troubled people. People didn't have an opportunity to actually speak up. Innocent lives were lost. A major setback during this period was 2020. Oh no, that was when many people died during the End SARS protest. And when many people died, when he came to give a speech, people were expecting him to say something about it. But he just said it on the side, just mentioned it. Like lives were lost. He, he just brushed over it and talked about something else. And a lot of people were just done. Like this man, we voted for him, so he has to rule us for the remaining 3 years. How are we going to go? Nigeria to face it. Presently, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been ruling us, and he started ruling us in 2023. He's been ruling us since 2023, and a lot of people are not happy. We see a lot of people use terms like T-pain, are you not feeling Tinubu, and T-trouble, and stuff like that. However, is it really a bad president? When you truly analyze what he's been doing, immediately he got into power, he tried to do some economic reforms. So he tried to merge the exchange rate of the black market with the exchange rate in central bank. However, when he merged it, rather than the exchange rate of the black market falling down to the exchange rate of central bank, it rather rise to the exchange rate of the black market. This means that Naira got even more devalued by that strategy. He may not have seen it coming. And so because Naira devalued, definitely the exchange rate went higher and the price of goods became more expensive. I see it as a a reform that may still help in the future. It may still, at least, we should see the brighter aspect. The fact that there is now a merge between the exchange rate of the central bank and the black market. So there's something good in it. I think Nigerians have to leave the state of constantly pushing the blame to the leaders, and we realize that some of these leaders are actually doing something. They are human beings like us, and they can make mistakes too, but they are trying their best. Do we know that some of these leaders, especially Tinubu, that we that Nigerians always blame, and insult, that they are ruling the country down, causing decadence in the country. Some of them may actually go to heaven and God would be more pleased with them. Why? Probably they would have done what God wanted them to do. But most Nigerians who actually lay blames on those leaders may not actually, God may not be pleased with them. Can we actually think about that? At least the leaders are doing something. What are you doing? What are we doing? I feel it's time for Nigerians to begin to take responsibility for problems around them. The road right in front of your house is bad. You're still waiting for the government to repair it. You you're a banker, you're a teacher, whatever sector you're in. There are problems within your company, there are problems within your sector that you see every day. You constantly gist about it. What have you done to correct it? So we need to move away from the era of laying blames, the era of actually solving problems with the little that we can. That's why I've started this segment on my channel. I am going to be picking each sector one by one. Most likely, I'll be starting with the education sector since I am a lecturer. I'll also be talking about engineering. My God, there is so much problem. Education and engineering, and educative engineering too. When you combine the two together, my God, left to me is not going well, and I am in it. So I think it's time for us to look at these problems in different sectors and look at how we can solve these problems together. If you want to join me in this journey, kindly subscribe. And I know this video is a really long video, but I made it long. I made it, you know, as detailed as possible because I want only serious people to be interested in this. So if you're interested in this, most likely you're a serious person. So I don't want to try to please some desires in you. I feel like if you're so interested in the growth of Nigeria, even if it's a long video, you should be interested in the video. As our anthem goes, peace and unity, Nigeria. Bye, guys.